it feel during the big games?
How did it feel during the big games? It was exciting and nervous, and I will tell you, there's nothing like the feeling of standing up in front of a huge crowd and having them call out your name, and you're standing there and all of a sudden they start playing the national anthem. To this day, I still get chill bumps thinking about standing there, knowing that that crowd is watching me and cheering for me, and when they call out my name, it's just this sense of overwhelming pride, because the ultimate thing you can do as an athlete is represent your country. And when I was able to play in those big games and I was able to be with my teammates, I was filled with joy, because I knew that everyone back home was rooting for me. And I knew that all of the people that helped me along the way were watching me. So honestly, you know what it feels like? It feels like a surprise birthday party, where all of a sudden, next thing you know, you walk into a room and there's this awesome surprise birthday party for you, and you're completely overwhelmed with joy and just excitement. That's what it felt like during the big games.
I wanted to know, how long have you played soccer?
Okay, I want to say first, well done on your shirt and your tie. I'm loving it. Props to you. So, how long have I played soccer? How long did I play soccer? I started playing soccer when I was 3 years old. And I started playing because my older brother was playing soccer. And I just wanted to play because my older brother was playing, and it was fun. But when I played soccer when I was 3, I just played beehive soccer. So we just clumped together like a little beehive and chased the ball the whole time. It wasn't until I would say I was about in 6th grade that was the very first time that I went from playing rec soccer to playing travel soccer. And that's when things started to change. That's when the love of the game, like I always loved soccer, but it was just different. It was more competitive. So from 3 years old until I was about, 25. I retired from soccer when I was 25. So I played soccer for 22 years. And I played soccer at a very high level for at least 10 of those years. So from 15 to 25, I played at the highest level possible. So I played with the national team. I played professionally. I went to UNC, like Mr. White was saying, since the team he was rooting for unfortunately beat us in a national championship game. No hard feelings, Mr. White. But I had played pretty much my entire life. And what's crazy, Braylon, is I was actually better at softball, fast pitch softball, than I was soccer. But when I was in high school, my high school softball coach told me I had to choose a sport. And everybody thought I was going to choose fast pitch softball. But instead, I decided that the love of soccer was just too great. So I didn't really specialize. And what I mean by specialize is I didn't become a one-sport athlete until I was in high school. And the only reason I did that was because I had no other choice, because they told me to. And here is a fun side note that hardly anybody knows about me, and I'll share it with your entire school. I used to dance, and I did ballet, tap, and jazz all the way through until I was in 8th grade. And I tell people, people can't believe this. If you get to know me, you ask Mr. White, probably something he's shocked by right now, that I used to do ballet, tap, and jazz all the way through 8th grade. And then finally, my ballet teacher, who was from France, when everybody else was going up on point on the toe shoes, she wasn't putting me there. And I said, Miss Jane, why am I not going up on point? And she was very honest, and she said, you have a soccer's body. And so what she meant by that, and I loved her for it, is she told me, you know what, if I wanted to pursue a sport, she was pretty much telling me that soccer and softball were those sports for me. But I loved everything I learned when I did dance, because it taught me to be flexible and it taught me rhythm. And I will tell you, I honestly think it taught me how to be a successful playing soccer, because it gave me good foot skills to move my foot quickly. Because the secret, Braylon, that not very many people know about me is that from about 2 years of age all the way until I was in 8th grade, I did ballet, tap, and jazz as well.
I don't know if you're able to hear that. I think she asked what motivated you to keep going, or what encouraged you to never give up when you were pursuing your goals.
What it came down to for soccer was I just loved it. Like it didn't ever feel like a job. Like it didn't ever feel, it was always fun. And so every time I achieved a new goal, it was fun. And fun doesn't mean that you're not working hard. Trust me, there were days that it wasn't fun during practice, or it wasn't necessarily that I looked forward to doing the fitness work, so that I didn't look forward to knowing that I had to go out and run that day, or that I had to push myself, or that I was going to have a coach maybe yelling at me during practice. But I always loved it. I did it and I worked for my goals because I loved them. And it never felt like a job. So when you're doing something that fires you up and it gets you passionate, you are always willing to do things that other people aren't wanting to do. Because at the end of the day, you still love it. So I don't know if any of you know who Usain Bolt is. He was a runner for Jamaica, fastest man in the world for the longest time. He hated training during practice, hated it, but he loved winning races. So he loved beating people when it came to sprinting, but he didn't like working hard. But he knew that if he wanted to keep beating people, he had to keep working hard. Because when he didn't work hard, people beat him. And so that's sort of the way I felt, that I knew that if I wanted to win, and I wanted to win the game, or I wanted to be the most fit person on the team, or the best person on the team, I had to work hard. So it doesn't always mean that every day, and I tell my kids all this time, my actual children this all the time, that not every day is sunshine and rainbows and roses, right? I didn't wake up every day happy, like I get to work really hard today. There were days that, I rolled out of bed and my body was sore and I had to go to the training room and I had to be worked on, meaning they had to either give me an ice bath or something else to make sure that I could train that day. But after I went to practice and I started to warm up, every day I remembered I love this sport. And whatever I was going after, every day I remembered I'm doing this because I love it. And if you are passionate about it, if you're fired up about it, it doesn't matter what's in front of you, you're going to work at it. So just know that when it came to my goals, for me personally, Mr. White kept saying it was about heart, but for me it really was. Is if I could work through the heart of, man, I'm going to do this. I'm willing to walk through a brick wall so I can go to practice today, because I knew it was going to be fun when I could see really the results of my work. So when you can work at something to the point that you get fired up knowing that in a week you're going to be better, then you're on the right path. So again, when it comes to goal setting for y'all, for when you're setting your own goals about what do I want to do. So if it's sports, if it's school, if it's being nicer to your family, just know that keep looking at what is it at the end of the day that I'm trying to accomplish. Because in the moment, it might seem hard. Yeah, trust me, there were times where I was your age and I had two brothers, and it would have been easier to, sort of like elbow them and take off running than to be nice to them. But I knew that at the end of the day, that if I didn't, one, want to get yelled at, and two, I wanted to go to soccer practice, then I needed to be nice to my family and I needed to be nice to my brothers. So if you can find that passion, that love, and you work at it every day, even on the hard days, it's worth it.
When did you know that you wanted to play soccer?
When did I know that I wanted to play soccer? You know what? I don't think I really realized that I wanted to play soccer in college or with the national team until I was probably, honestly, I'll tell you when it changed for me. It was, let's see here. It was what really made it click was in 1990. I know it sounds like forever ago. I remember in 1995. So I was 15 at the time. So I was just about to make the national team. But the aha moment that this is what I wanted to do as a profession clicked then, because I was watching the World Cup at the time, the 1995 World Cup. And then I knew in that moment that this was awesome. I was watching people on TV. So Carlos, I see that your profile picture is somebody from the Steelers. I couldn't see who that is. So in that moment, you're watching these people on TV and you're watching these guys on TV going, man, I want to do that. That looks awesome. And I had that moment of, this is awesome. I can be on TV and people can watch me. This is great. But I didn't do it only because I wanted to be on television. Because if you do something only because you want to be famous, then you're doing it for the wrong reason. Remember what I said, it comes down to what fuels your heart, what makes you feel good, what lights you on fire, what's your passion. And I always knew that it was my passion. So in high school, things started to click and started to change because guess what? Everybody's heard the story about how Michael Jordan didn't make his basketball team when he was a freshman, right? Everybody knows that. Michael Jordan didn't make his basketball team when he was a freshman in high school. I didn't make varsity soccer when I was a freshman in high school. I made the JV team, and that fired me up like you wouldn't believe. Because in my mind, I was thinking, you know what? I think I'm good enough to be on that team. And that, Carlos, is what really started to light the fire. But what I would say what really set it on fire was in 1995, watching the women on TV. So I had a moment of what people would say was a setback. But it wasn't a setback, it was a setup. It was setting me up for something greater because it made me work harder every single day. It made me have to go after it. So that's the difference. So when you're sitting there and you're watching those guys on TV, just realize not every one of them was always the greatest. Not every one of them always went to the best school or was always the best on their team. Something might have set them back and they had to work harder to set themselves up for something more. So for me, it was not making my varsity team as a freshman in high school and watching those women play soccer on television. That was like, you know what, this is it. This is what really I want to do. And when I decided to set those goals, you know, you want to talk about how you always want somebody that's going to help you along the way and you're hoping they're going to push you. But, you know, my parents were realistic. They said, well, what if you can't do it, Danielle? What if that's too hard for you? What happens if you can't make it? And my answer to them was, well, then I guess I got to work harder. So it comes down to you can't listen to what everybody else is always telling you. If they're telling you, you know what, I don't know if you can do that. I don't know if you're smart enough. I don't know if you're good enough. It's not about what they think. What do you think? Because every person that has achieved any goal in life has always had somebody behind them saying, you can't do that. You can't do that. That's impossible. Well, impossible means that I'm possible, right? If you break down the word impossible, IMPOSSIBLE, means I'm possible. I can do anything I want to do. And so that's what really sort of fired me up, was not making that team my freshman year and then watching those women on TV knowing, you know what, I'm going to do that. So that's what helped me.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't really know anything about soccer, but what I have a love for is basketball and softball. But did you ever get any hate? And if you did it ever make you want to quit or anything like that?
I will tell you this. Every step of my way, someone talked about me. But I didn't have time to listen to all the chatter in the back. All the chatter in the back is a headache. And what you have to realize is it, Tamaya, is that how you say your name?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So Tamaya, what you have to realize is if you are too busy listening to the hate, you're not busy enough working on your craft. So if it's basketball, if it's softball, people are going to talk about you when you're good. It doesn't matter. People are, they're going to talk about you if you're good. They're going to talk about you if you're bad. They're going to talk about you if you're average. But you can't listen to what other people have to say. And one thing I learned a long time ago, other people's opinion of me is none of my business. So think about that. Other people's opinion of me is none of my business. So all I can do is the best I can do today. And if I knew I gave everything I could give today, then somebody else's opinion of me is not my business. So my coach may say to me, hey, you know what? You weren't good today. And I'd say, you know what? I had an off day. You're right. But his opinion in that moment fired me up to work harder because he was my coach and I respected him. But if let's say somebody that was an opponent or a fan was watching the game and they're booing at me or whatever else, I didn't have time to get involved in that. Because what you have to realize is you have to do what you love because you love it. And if somebody else doesn't want to do it because that's not their passion and they much rather talk about you, then they need to find their own goals. And I'm not going to get caught up in what other people have to say.
It's good to see you again, by the way.
I know.
Good to see you. Second of all, I was very surprised about dance. Not surprised that it improved footwork, but I did not see that coming. So I'm going to file that one away. Yeah, that's awesome.
And Ms. Kelly said,
okay. But thank you so much for coming. I think no matter where we're at, whether it's sports or academics or whatever our goals are, there was something wonderful for all of us today and a blessing for all of us. So thank you for that. Normally when we have a guest speaker, we're in person and we can all say thank you and get to meet you, but you're like 3 hours away because we're all trying to be safe. But on behalf of our school, our staff, our administration, we deeply appreciate you coming and giving so much of your time today. So thank you so very much.